was talking to my good friend Lee Lesser yesterday. She and I co-founded what became Veterans Path, and then now become its own nonprofit of working with offering meditation and mindfulness to current era veterans. She knows that we're practicing with Earth Dharma here in the Sangha over this period of time. And she, because she does sensing, wants to offer a sensing, a long sensing series of sensing workshops, which I'll tell you about if and when they come to fruition. But we were talking about, it's like if you enter through the climate crisis, it's like, ah, which I think we're already our nervous systems. How do we take care of the nervous system of the world? Which seems to me, I was thinking about when a baby cries, you hold it close to your body, and you breathe with it, and you rock with it, and its heartbeat begins to align with your own, and your own begins to align with it. And I just remember when I would hold my young son, is I remember how much everything opened and dropped into a place. Of stillness and possibility and love. So I think that's our job here. I know that I need to continue, and we'll do that today. I need to be educated. I need more information so I can imagine, not turn away from. And we also need to help hold ourselves in the world and the world in a way that is healing and allows for creativity and imagination and possibility for ourselves and our children, or the children and the grandchildren and the 7 generations and the birds and the bees and the northern flicker woodpecker. So we are all breathing together. So that's my ongoing intention and hope. And in that intention and hope, of course, what I will always bring us to is the Dharma, Earth Dharma, and the Dharma, because any Dharma, Dogen was immersed, so many of his teachings, well, Asian teachings also, but Dogen, in the teachings of the mountains and the rivers, that it's all here, just listen. So, Dogen's 4 methods of guidance for a Bodhisattva. We've done them before. We'll do them again. An ongoing source of wonder of what is it? And how do we enter more deeply? I found a wonderful talk, which is information in itself. This talk was by Linda Ruth Cutts, given at Green Gulch Farm in 2006. We are now, as we know, 2022. And she's talking about the urgency in 2006. So I'm going to share her talk and, of course, probably do some little commentaries along the way. And her talk is on Dogen's 4 methods of guidance as it pertains to the earth. Earth Dharma, hearing the cries of the earth. When we think of caring for suffering, we must first care for our own suffering. We cannot skip over that, because if we are not there for ourselves, listening to ourselves, we can't help other beings. Say this over and over and we forget. Come back, the backward step. Take just this breath. It includes everything. And if we take care of this self, then we can listen to those around us and our family and our friends, and it spreads from there. And now, and ongoing, we are hearing the cry of the earth. I think she wrote this talk she gave right after Al Gore's movie came out. Do you remember when that came out? Take a deep breath. Yeah. Here we are, and here we are, and here we are. She says, we have heard it for decades, but now it is urgent and unmistakable. Our existence and the Earth's existence is interrelated, interdependent. There is not one without the other. And then she goes on to talk about Dogen's 4 methods of guidance of the Bodhisattva from the Shobogenzo through the eye and ear and heart of deep ecology. She says these practices, generosity, kind speech, benevolent action, and identity action are ancient. You can't go wrong. You could pick up any one of them. Investigate. What is it? Forever. Generosity, kind speech, beneficial action, and identity action. I especially, well, all of them, but identity action is, it's like, what is it? But we'll get to that because that's the 4th one. They have been offered to practitioners even from thousands of years ago. Can we take up these practices now? If we do not take them up, there will be no great horned owls, no trees, no loved ones. Let us look together at practicing undertaking great compassion without delay. Undertaking great compassion without delay. We begin with our Zazen practice. That's good. We did that today. You could chalk it up. And living Zazen and Zazen practice every day. Practice of waking up, of coming into action in as many specific and practical ways as possible without delay. The first of the methods, practice of giving. 3 ways. I just want to comment here. It's not like we haven't talked or studied these things before. Giving. Oh, I know giving. Open your whole body and ears. What is this giving? Let it come in and breathe in and breathe out. It's an amazing way to study self-centeredness. With kindness, of course. Traditionally, 3 things that we give. The first is material things like food or clothing. I was thinking about Yael, who, along with many others, went to and are in Poland with the world food, I can't remember, but cooking amazing pots of food for and offering them, making sandwiches for refugees pouring from Ukraine into Poland. We're just someone was saying to me the other day they were so surprised when someone fixed themselves a sandwich and didn't ask if they wanted one too. I mean, this was somebody in the same house. Now, I would never do something like that. Except for when I did. It's like, pay attention. Second, Dharma. Perhaps giving Dharma is the most important, but it is hard to hear Dharma if you're hungry or you do not have shelter. So we give according to the situation. We give what is needed. It's wonderful to come to Sangha where we share the Dharma. We know. And of course we share material things. But I find these days I get happier and happier when I am touched by the Dharma, It's like, oh, there is wisdom here. There is a path here. The third is the gift of fearlessness. Avalokiteshvara is often depicted in the mudra of non-fear. It is hard to hear about the loss of our planet. We don't want to hear about global warming because we may become paralyzed with despair. We can't believe that this is going to happen. This many years later, we're more and more able to imagine that this is going to happen, and it is happening, and what's the appropriate response? And so we join together as a community of beings and ask what we can do and how we can help. Fearlessness comes from a feeling that change is possible and wanting to see that change occur. Joanna Macy said in a talk she gave to activists, if you're losing a game, an equivalent in soccer might be if you're losing 1-0 and you've just got a couple more minutes, you don't give up. You go out and you give it everything. That kind of feeling that these are the last minutes of the game. Our last chance to turn around and heal this planet. We don't know. 2006, 2022. What's it going to be in 2025, 2030? Don't give up. Pay attention. What can we do, big and small? Start with the details of your life. Small things. And then keep looking and looking. And always dedicate it to the whole world. Because the minute you dedicate some small act to your own well-being and the well-being of the world, you've already changed everything over and over. Dogen says giving means non-greed. I am making a commitment to look at the greed, hate, and delusions of my life, which is the core of my decisions, my thinking, and my actions. Please look at your greed, hate, and delusion for yourself and the whole world. If nothing else, it will make you very humble over and over. The second of the Bodhisattva's 4 methods of guidance is kind speech, which we are certainly not in a time of. Kind speech suggests we not be discouraged and we speak in loving words to each other. And I think it's very human that as people feel more scared and more tight and backed into corners in their own psyche and in the world, it's more in the realm of karmic living that we start turning on each other as resources get scarcer. So this is so important as a practice. We don't know what's going to happen next. And it's probably many things, there will be more, well, not probably, there will be more suffering. So please, let's as Bodhisattva practitioners, this is so important. Dogen has wonderful things to say about kind speech. Kind speech that means that when you see sentient beings, you arouse the mind of compassion. It's like, oh, when I see you, I don't think you're over there. Well, I do. But then I take another breath and come closer and realize we're breathing each other in and out. And then we offer words of loving care. It is contrary to cruel or violent speech. And in the secular world, there is a custom of asking after someone's health. Isn't that nice? Buddha that long ago, that custom is always here. It's like, how are you? And in Buddhism, there is a phrase, please treasure yourself, as a way to greet someone. please treasure yourself. How do we truly treasure ourselves? As Dogen says elsewhere, the entire universe is the true human body. It's one of my most favorite phrases. You think this earth and all of its beings and its microbes and its little viruses and everything is out there, well, until it's in here, and then we get all scared or kerfloodled or whatever we think it is, unless we anyway, I'm not, that's enough. We are interdependent. Treasuring ourselves truly is treasuring the whole body of the universe. Interdependent. We're not separate. Take care of this body. And please take care of the body of the earth. They're not separate. Dogen goes on to say, kind speech is the basis for reconciling rulers and subduing enemies. Kind speech arises from kind mind, and kind mind from the seed of compassionate mind. You should ponder the fact that kind speech is not just praising the merit of others, it has the power to turn the destiny of the nation. Kind speech. That's all. Practice kind speech. Speaking kindly to each other and about these matters that are true and that are beneficial to talk about, not out of anger, but out of understanding each other and understanding our habits, can turn the destiny of a nation and the destiny of this world. How do we turn the destiny? Kind speech. Third of the four methods that Avalokiteshvara put forward is beneficial action. Beneficial action is what we can do right now to benefit the situation. What haven't we done yet that is easy? Can you turn down the thermostat? Pay attention to how much air conditioning we use as it gets hotter. Light bulbs. Back in 2006, light bulbs were very big. Now we can also pay attention to carbon footprints, and we can pay attention to when we get on an airplane, which I was just thinking the last time I did that, there was an organization where I could also donate to plant trees. And I mean, just pay attention. All of these little things we can do today without delay. What kind of car are you going to buy next? Kyle, I think, just emailed me and said that they decided. No, someone else. Bruce and I are in a movie which you guys haven't gotten to see yet, because anyway, you will, about the fire and climate change. And anyway, the Sangha member was inspired to, when she was buying a new car and decided to get a low impact car. Each thing affects everybody else. Can you afford a hybrid? Can you not afford a hybrid? Can you start to use a bicycle? These are beneficial actions. Can we pass the word? Can we actually turn this? Dogen says beneficial action is skillfully to benefit all classes of sentient beings. That is, to care about their distant and near future and to help them by using skillful means. It's not just caring about those close to us, it's also about caring about those in the distant future. Foolish people think that if they help others first, their own benefit will be lost, but this is not so. Beneficial action is an act of oneness, benefiting self and others together. We should benefit friend and enemy equally. Let's pay attention to who we think the enemy is, and then what happens in our own bodies and hearts and minds. Doesn't mean be stupid. It's not, Pema Chodron calls it stupid compassion, but pay attention, study, body, speech, and mind. Forms, feelings, sensations, impulses, consciousness. We should benefit friend and enemy equally. And Linda Ruth says, taking care of the environment is just that. We might say, it is hard to really know how to benefit an enemy. Taking this practice up, thoroughly taking care of the environment is benefiting friend and foe equally. As Dogen says, you should benefit self and others alike. If you have this mind, even beneficial action for the sake of grasses, trees, wind, and water is spontaneously and unremittingly compassionate action. This is making a wholehearted effort to help all beings. The last, identity action. I kind of get the first three, more immediately, but identity action. It's also translated as cooperation or non-difference, or self and others are one. I remember talking to Norman Fisher a lot of years ago about this one, and my first thought was, you just put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And he said, nope. It's more subtle than that. It's kind of like, I'm going to jump out of me and I'm going to jump over into you, and I'm going to understand you from whatever I know. And then I was thinking, I think that's a lot like what's happening in the racial dialogue right now. Is people of color have for a long time maybe had the experience that white people jump out of their own bodies and over into what we think their experience is over there. And then we think that we can jump back into our bodies and help somehow. It's not a bad intention, but so what is identity action? Taking the appropriate form. One of Avalokiteshvara's main practices is also in chapter 25 of the Lotus Sutra. Whatever form you need to wake up, Avalokiteshvara says, I'll come in that form. That is the practice of unhesitatingly, without delay, taking whatever form is necessary. The 1,000 arms, Avalokiteshvara, each arm holding a different implement, also is representation of taking any form without delay. What form can we take? I think, the beautiful image of Avalokiteshvara and 1,000 hands and eyes, which to me is, we see it in flat images, but if you imagine the whole body is alive with hands and eyes. And able to respond and meet each moment, which is really a profound don't know mind. Because otherwise we're just channeling it through. Suzuki Roshi said, if you just use two hands, you're not using the 998,000. Anyway, I looked at Kristen and knew her math would be way better than mine, but you get the idea. It's not just dual. It's not just you and me. It's full-bodied. The earth is round, and the sun and the moon and the skies, and it all turns together. So what is this body if we inhabit it in this way? Identity action, the non-duality of self and other, and the practice of exchanging self for other encourages us to make an effort to understand others' motivations. Please try to understand. I was thinking, one of the reasons that I have for 4+ years now been part of the racial and social justice, it started as a literacy group, now it's Dharma practice, is I know I don't understand. And every time I understand a little bit, I understand how much I don't understand about other people's experience, because I've just been seeing them through my own guise of white privilege. It's hard. It's hard to stay with discomfort. And I, as much as any one of you, would really like to just run for cover. Except there is no cover because it's all us. So there's this commitment to please understand with the mind, but let it touch all the way through. That's why we stopped calling it a literacy group and began calling it a practice group. Body, let it come down. It's uncomfortable. It really needs Sangha and practice and support. If we make this effort, we will more and more be able to open and hear. Linda Ruth says, a verse of bowing which celebrates this non-duality of self and other is the one who is bowing, the one who is bowed to. Their nature, no nature, my body, other's body, not two. Plunging into the inexhaustible vow, living in harmony with all. This is the teaching of non-duality, of self and other, of benefiting others and living in harmony with all. Taking up the issues of the environment, living in harmony with all, not living at the expense of all. This fourth method of guidance of identity, action, or cooperation, deep interdependence, can be completely expressed by all the different practices of taking care of the environment. Giving, kind speech, beneficial action. Dogen says identity action means non-difference. It is non-difference. And then he says, with a gentle expression, practice identity action for all people. Forgiveness and gentleness towards our own confusion and delusion. Vowing, remembering with each step and breath and sound that we are living with and for all beings. Waking up, entering, not turning away. So I was going to share with you, but there's not time because I want you to talk to each other too. But I'll recommend, or maybe I'll do it another time, in the New York Times. There was an article recently called, "It's Going to Be a Hot Summer. It Will Be Hotter If You're Not Rich." And it talks about the East Coast, New York City, living in a big city. I know a little bit about the fires and my own level of concern here in the West. That's the way I enter it, we enter it usually. What is it if you're living in a concrete world where things are getting hotter and hotter, and people with money can go to pools or get in the car and go away to their cottages, beach. What if you're just trapped where you are? I think it's important to educate ourselves and to ask. It is for me, because I want to be happy, and I'm so happy I can go to the beach here. And I love these beautiful spring, summer days. But let's always remember non-difference and identity action, not from a place of being a bummer, but ultimately from a place of gratitude and wise Bodhisattva activity. So why don't I'm going to put you in groups of 3. You could enter this any way you want.